Okay, guys, for the sake of time, I'm just going to try and see if we can start with without the other two people on the call, because it's really simple for me. I need you guys to try and pull up, I sent it via email, a mock-up of the syllabus, or i.e. agenda, for the 8-week program. And it could probably describe where we're at in terms of commitments and how we could put a focus on how to calendar this program for the next 8 weeks. So if you guys can pull up the email, or I can put in the Google Drive in the chat box. So if there's if Dave, can you unmute your mic, Dave?
DPI Capstone Career Channel.
Yes, right. So those are the commitments that I have from folks who will do a session. And in some cases, there will be either a reduction because there's 10 modules and we only have 8 weeks, or we can double people up in the categories or the theme for that particular week. But those are all commitments based on availability. So any comments, suggestions?
How long is the time with each module? Is it 1 hour with the instructor or mentor?
Well, I obviously want your guys' input, because most people probably can't do more than 30 minutes alone, because it's more of a masterclass speaking engagement with Q&A. But it would align with things that we could actually certify or get the certifications aligned with their presentation. So obviously there would be some way for them to introduce what, why, and how that certification could make sense. And that I haven't figured out yet.
So do we have certifications for each one of these capstones or seminars?
No.
So a half hour, each speaker, maybe there's a team of speakers in some cases, but each speaker will speak for half an hour and then provide a link to the corresponding certification. And then the students complete that certification, let's just say on their own time before
let's make sure it's not a certification, it's a digital badge, right? So we call it what it is, because those two things are completely different.
All right, so this will be changed in the description. Offer a bundle of certifications, that's not. A bundle of digital badging.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so do we know the badge course for each one of these capstones?
No.
No.
I don't have them aligned yet with these speakers.
Okay.
I have an idea.
Me too.
Well, listen, speakers most likely can pull together their topic, whether it's this or they tell you, no, I don't want to do that, I want to do this instead. It'll be that, even that is fine, because it'll be appropriate. But if a lesson, if a capstone comprises a speaker, what they speak on, and a corresponding badge course, then we have to include the badge course here, right? If we're going to do the syllabus, the speaker, you have the commitment and you have a sense of what they're going to speak on. And again, easily changed. Badge courses is where some work needs to be done. What's a good way to correspond? I don't know if they're really called badge courses, but badge courses to the topics that the speakers are going to be speaking on.
So we would do it on LinkedIn Learning. And right now it's free until March. And I'm sure it'll be extended. So if we go to opportunity.linkedin.com.
Okay. Charlotte, can you put that in the chat box? Because I'm going to.
Well, I'm on my phone because it doesn't work on my computer.
Okay.
But opportunity.linkedin.com. And you'll see down below, it'll give you, you click on it. It's going to say, here is a free learning path. Click on it. And I know one of those in there was IoT.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll click on IoT up in the box. And here's IoT Foundations Fundamentals. There's standards and ecosystems. There's device management, electronics foundations fundamentals.
I
So
see it.
somebody
Yeah.
has to, probably the person who's speaking on this subject will have to vet which of these digital badges are applicable,
Perfect.
right?
Right.
Right.
Great. So it's easy to do, and they
Mhm.
should, a given speaker should be able to do what we just did, do a search, and then narrow in on one or two that are appropriate.
Yes, and if they
I
need
would
help,
leave it
I'm
to-
happy to help them.
And they may even know, some of these speakers may already have some familiarity. Okay, great. So this way we can get each seminar, each capstone pretty much set. So I will say that it would be nice if they could talk for more than half an hour. I feel like in some of these cases, that might be scratching the surface in half an hour with a Q&A.
Right.
I mean,
No, I
good
said,
students will take half
yeah,
Q&A.
I will put an asterisk next to the people who said that they have a half an hour masterclass type speaking
I see.
presentation that's already, kind of connected or
Yep.
aligned with what it is that they're an expert in. But that way, maybe those people who do half an hour, I can double them up for a session.
Yeah, or they can do half an hour. If they have a presentation, let's say, that's a half hour long, then they can present and then do Q&A for half an hour. And then
Yeah.
you have if someone has an hour session, maybe then they do half an hour of Q&A following that. It would be nice if it could be interactive as opposed to I speak and you listen. There's value in that, obviously, but because we're in Zoom land, we're in virtual land, being able to have time dedicated for that interface that is easier in person, right? Oh, hey, can I talk
Absolutely, Dave.
walk you out to your car? I think it would be nice to bake that in.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I kept the number of 30 as the cohort, because that will provide a more quality experience if there is that interactivity. Because I'd like to have each student ask a question. And obviously, if they're prepped, they know who this person is in the category, they may be more engaged.
Okay, and then we can talk about things like prepping. So is there maybe, if these presenters, materials that can be distributed ahead of time, or maybe separately, but related, there's a way for students to put questions into a chat rather than just sort of raising their hand ad hoc.
Yes.
Literally raising their hand or doing the little in chat raising of the hand, so that we can like stack up questions, but some facilitation possibly, so that each one of these sessions, in fact, involves 30 students, the guest lecturer, and a facilitator.
That's perfect.
If not two facilitators, one technological and one the MC, if you will.
Or the monitor, right? I think a monitor should be
That's better.
of
That
these.
monitor.
Yeah.
Right. And the idea for this whole series is to allow each one of the students to participate in the planning, the execution, and the post-production of it. Because at some point, the whole reason why they're using this is kind of project-based learning, or as I call it, challenge-based learning, is to learn how to possibly get badging on doing the kind of admin for these types of virtual experiences, whether it be webinars, workshops, or whatever. Because that's really what's most important for me right now, is to get people who know how to do one of these.
Well, there'll need to be some training for that. So Capstone Zero
Yeah.
is going how to, I'm going to call it something really bad. It would be better than this, but how to facilitate a Zoom call and record it.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? It maybe could even be better where like not only is it recorded, but then after the fact you go and you edit it to make it a nice little package, right? But there needs to be an additional session if you want some number of students to be standing near the, I'm going to speak metaphorically, standing near or on the stage as opposed to sitting at their seats in the lecture hall, right? You can't expect them just on the call to say, okay, so who wants to record it? I don't know how to do, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
there is a lesson around that. Whether or not there's badging for that, again.
Oh, there is. There is. Yeah, it's actually becoming a much needed skill set.
Okay.
In all of the conferences that I've participated in, they've had someone as the producer and the production person to start, stop, and give instruction. And then obviously you're going to do the post-production and edit it so that it's
Okay.
time constraints.
Zero is that, and in that capstone, maybe the students divide it up, right? They assign themselves, we need 3 people for each of these calls, and you divide it up, right? Out of the 30, you're each going to be responsible for one of these calls, or you're going to have 2 different positions on one of these calls, or 2 of these calls, one position on one and one position on the
Yeah, I
other.
think
But,
if you have three people per session, and if you rotate them, then
right,
you give
exactly.
everybody a chance.
Everyone does everything, and yeah, okay. So all of that can be worked out in Capstone Zero, which is welcome to your, let's assume these are weekly, bi-weekly, like
Weekly.
twice. It's Capstone Zero is welcome to this whole thing. Here's what we're going to be covering in these X number of weeks. Here's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be listening, learning, doing these follow-ups, and you also are going to be producing, quote unquote, producing 1 or 2 of these in these 3 different positions, and you're about to learn how to do that. Okay, let's learn how to do it. Do your badging after this class, and let's divide up. You know, let's divide up who's going to do each one, and that's week 1. I call it 0 to make sure that it comes ahead of all of these,
Yeah.
and then we go into this with each week with a different speaker and then the accompanying badging. Charlotte, should the badging be done within a certain amount of time? Like your homework is due before the next capstone?
Absolutely. And then I think they need to submit it somewhere, or maybe to the mentor or whoever is
Yeah.
taking responsibility, so we can, and you can only move forward if you pass. And if you don't pass the first time, nobody knows. So they can take it again. I mean, it's self-paced, but they're usually no longer than a couple hours at most. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go into AI, then they're very long, but we're not doing that. So there's ample time for them to get it done.
Okay, so if this is, yeah, even if we do these twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday, or every Tuesday and Thursday, or whatever, and I wouldn't expect we should do more than that. They should be able to finish the 2-hour one. Let's assume that you can do it in 2 passes, kind of at the worst, right? You fail the first time, you do it again. Get it? You should be able to, right? You can do that in time for the next class.
Absolutely. So it's module. So say they don't pass one module, which might have 3 questions on it, they can continue on and go back to it, or they can just take it again.
So
it's that simple.
A number of modules, 5, 7, or many within that badge course.
That's correct.
Oh, I thought each badge course was a full module. Okay, got it. So you may have to.
They're just subsets. So certain topic, validate, right. You understand, and then they go on to another.
Yeah, got it. Okay, right. So even easier. You'll probably get 5 out of the 6 and go back and do the 6th in order to get the whole thing done. But my point,
have to do them all.
Set the expectation for this cadence, which is you will meet on a Tuesday. By Thursday, you should have finished the corresponding module, and then by the next Tuesday for that Thursday's class, you should have finished that Thursday's module.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we can track, right? We can say, we know
Yes.
the 30 is relative to their modules, relative to the weekly cadence or biweekly cadence, the TBD. Part of that is going to be when people are available, right? So we like this.
Yes, that's correct.
We like to do it in 2 weeks. We like to do it on a biweekly basis. I just think that creates intensivity. That's not the right word, but when you stretch it out to an entire week, stuff gets in the way. When you do 2 in a week, it feels like, you know, you're hooked up to the pipe.
Right, and it shows their buy-in, absolutely, because otherwise, yeah, life happens and it doesn't get done.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So Kevin, follow-ups are to update this document a little bit to make it say not certifications, but badging,
Okay.
lay in capstone 0, and then all the numbers shift down. That's going to be capstone 1.
Great.
And then work with the individual presenters to get a sense of what they're going to present timing wise, hour, half hour, their commitment to dates, and have them select a back course or 2 for each. I mean, 1 bare minimum, but if there's 2 that are worthwhile for their to follow their lecture.
Right. So the idea of doing the 30-minute session and making sure that the end state of that session is 30 minutes, it's almost 29 minutes and 59 seconds, is because I'm calling it lunchtime on-demand TV for students.
Yeah,
and I believe at 12 to 12:30, most students do not have classes. They may or they may not, but at least it gives those students who want to see the finished product. Oh, somebody. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's a good idea, but I would recommend leaving time for Q&A.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And if it's an hour and it doesn't happen at lunch, that's okay too. Look, let's assume these are students and they're in class roughly from 9 to 4, but this could be at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, and it's on demand anyway, so they'll be watching it when they can. There is a interactive portion that could be live during lunchtime, but it is on demand, pre-recorded, or post-produced recorded.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Okay, so when this experience is over, I'd like to be able to repurpose it so that if I'm included in the Consumer Electronics Show conference, virtual conference in January, or
that's fine.
Yeah, I just like to be able to have it kind of standardized so that it looks and it's timed and it's packaged in a way where each bite of it is standardized. That's what
that's Bridge 2. So Bridge 1 is let's get the thing itself done.
Great.
The individual students, the producers, each segment could be responsible for packaging their segment for downstream, right? So they run this, they facilitate the session, and then they take it, polish it, edit it, and make it a cool little package. And maybe that ends up being 45 minutes when you cut out pauses and stuff like that, whatever. But yeah, I mean, to do the thing itself, I think it should feel as much like a class as possible.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's always going to be offered to other students, their peers, as a student experience. And I wanted to introduce a person who's basically the author of the Digital Pathway Initiative. And he's been kind of my guru on helping me understand how to bridge academia to workforce and beyond. Jay Tucker. Jay, we've got 4 people on the call, including myself. If you can introduce yourself, I think no one has met you. I don't even believe Dave has met you. So Jay, can you introduce yourself and a little bit about how we've come to frame Digital Pathway Initiative?
Hi, everybody, and I apologize in advance. We've got construction going on my roof, so I apologize for the noise as we go. As Kevin said, I'm Jay Tucker. I run the Center for Media, Entertainment, and Sports at the Business School at UCLA. When I met Kevin, I was working at USC. In a nutshell, in my role, I just try to make people smarter about what goes on in the entertainment industry, whether we're talking about students, industry people, potential partners and sponsors in the space, just trying to help people understand business models, leadership, innovation, and so on. Kevin met me when I was hosting an event at USC called Silicon Beach at USC, which was focused on really this next wave of new ventures and collaborations that we were getting with this mashup of tech and Hollywood. And our goal when we first started those conversations was to figure out how we can kind of get young people from underserved communities plugged into the ecosystem. Put differently, how do we make sure that the wheels of progress don't roll over our communities? And so Kevin and I have been talking for years and years and years about how to pull together the many efforts that folks have undertaken, whether it's education specifically, you know, classroom stuff, experiential learning opportunities like hackathons and case competitions and pitch sessions, or, you know, employment opportunities or projects, right? Like, how do you bring all of those things together so that a young person can kind of plug in? And when I say young person, really, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be a high school or college age person, just a young person looking to start, you know, their journey into tech and entertainment. How do you get somebody to plug in at a certain stage, level up, and be seen as someone with a skill set and a desire and a passion that will be desirable in the industry so that they can actually get jobs, right? Because at the end of the day, what we want are people finding gainful opportunity and starting careers and or starting their own companies. What we don't want is for people to go through the hassle, invest the time, the treasure, and all that other stuff to get to kind of get a badge or a certificate that doesn't translate into an opportunity. Whatever we're doing, we should be looking at experiences that essentially open more doors for people than they close, right? And so that was really the vision more than anything else. Part of it is collaboration, which Kevin does in his sleep, identifying people who are really doing interesting things, you know, are connected to students, believe in the mission, and so on. You know, Kevin's got folks from just about every sector of industry, not just tech and entertainment. But then the other piece is trying to map that out into identifying things that we can constructively do that create experiences for learners, that when they get to the other side of the rainbow, there actually is a pot of gold. And that requires deep participation, both from educational institutions and from, you know, industry leaders to agree to some criteria by which they'll be able to then evaluate the folks that we have in our programs and potentially hip them to opportunities.
Wow. Man, Jay, you nailed about 10 years of work for me. What I really want to do is provide some context to this meeting for Jay, because he's been so busy. He's not really been able to catch up with where I want him to be. I've actually asked him, as I've asked all of the other participants, to look at doing one session, one module, if you will. And I have him in there at the end, at the culminating event at the end, with Charlotte and several other people, Simone Nelson, Jeff Clanagan from Laugh Out Loud Network, and Fabiola Torres. But most of these people I've met through events and activities that Jay produces at either USC Silicon Beach or the UCLA Next, or what's the other program, Jay? Not Next, but UCLA, one in February?
Pulse conference?
Pulse. Pulse is, yeah. So what I've really done is I've kind of mimicked or plagiarized a lot of the stuff that Jay's done in the last 7 years to try and offer up a program of activities, workshops, speaker engagements, and takeaways for folks that I believe really need to know where the future of academia to workforce is. And that's what, you know, Jay represents for me. And in many cases, we were able to get some of the community college students who were interning with me from Santa Monica College to show up at Jay's conferences and interview people and do short bits on what they learned so they can share them with their other students. But I didn't get the adoption from a lot of the other faculty because they just didn't even know what level and what the importance of Jay's conferences were doing, especially when you talk about trying to align this with workforce and real career opportunities. And if they're not supported by the faculty, it is really difficult to ask the student to kind of focus on what they have to do in class, get graded, and then be able to have that overlay of things that are industry and professional, because they're not really sure where they should put their emphasis. And unfortunately, they have to do some decision as to how to integrate it. And that's what I think we need help as mentors, is to help them understand what happens when they're out of class or when it's out of the box. Because a lot of this is going to be DIY. Some students are going to need a lot of handholding as mentoring to understand the importance of this. And we know that their portfolios, the resumes are great, but what about the soft skills? What about all the other things that have to happen, like meeting people, like Jay and some of the other speakers? That's what I want to see as some of the outcomes that aren't published on this document. So if anybody has any suggestions about what I've said, that's really what I think the outcome for me is how many students are able to actually become proficient in leading a session themselves, potentially next semester.
So why don't we incorporate a final wrap-up, which would be week 9, where we have them give us their 2-minute elevator pitch. They can, we can work with them at that final wrap-up with their soft skills, or we can add additional digital badging where they can take those soft skill courses to help them. And that certainly would resonate with employers as they see that they've gone through certain soft skills and validates that they understand what that means. You know, collaboration, of think before you speak, of communication and things of that nature.
That sounds good. Jay, have you seen the document, the mock-up I sent? You may not have gotten that. It's called the Capstone Career Channel, DPI Capstone Career Channel doc, and it's really the title of a 8-week series of master classes and workshops. And I'm going to send it to you right now.
No, I see it. I see it. I'm looking at it.
So that's what that's what Charlotte asked me to frame. And if Charlotte, if you can, since Jay's now meeting you virtually for the first time, can you explain your
I'm sorry.
overview?
No.
Okay, I know, Dave, you have to
I'll
go.
be back.
Okay, so Charlotte,
Thank you, everybody.
okay, all right, thanks, Dave. Can you explain how we met and some of the things that you have to take away from this experience, you know, for your position, and all the things that you have to make sure are integrated into any endeavor?
Well, what I want to make sure, first and foremost, before I go into how we met, is that these students have not only the 8 weeks to put that they were doing an internships on different areas within the field, but that they have some type of a digital badge. Now, the digital badge, we all understand that's not in-depth training, but it is a talking point on their resume, and it shows that they are at least knowledgeable of what A, B, and C is, or they understand, for example, what soft skills are, which is one of the most important things that employers are looking for. They can train them, but if they don't have the soft skills, they're hard to work with, and it's just not a win-win. We met at Intercom well over a year ago now. I think actually maybe it was right before COVID hit.
Yeah,
I think
it was.
one of the
That
last
was
things
actually
I did.
December. Yeah, it was December 6th, as a matter of fact. Yes, we met at a LAEDC digital media event. Yes, and
Yeah.
it was for the community college stakeholders, the deans and faculty, and literally we were being hosted by one of the companies who I haven't put in this particular deck, but who has expressed interest in creating a student-generated radio station that would allow them to not only produce podcasts, but actually have an opportunity to understand the business of radio, marketing, advertising, sales, engineering, the whole bit. So that program is still in place, but you know, we still have to wait for things to normalize so that we can get their focus again. But
Yeah, what
that's-
excites me about what we're doing here is we are creating a model that can be emulated through any sector by, basing it onto different modules within a certain parameter of time, and then validating what was iterated by their mentor or their, whoever we are using to talk to these students, and then they have something to show for it. So they're getting a little bite of the carrot every time they come each week and complete these modules. And at the end, it's definitely something that is attainable. It may help them get a job, but if anything, it will give them insight to make sure that that's the industry they're going for, right? That's the most important thing. So for me, it's being able to offer this to students. Since I have LA and Orange County, that's 28 community colleges, which are very diverse. So opening it up to everyone is a great opportunity. And the fact that we're going to do this every 8 weeks is amazing. And it could be duplicated if we wanted to do some, things all the way around. So I'm excited. I'm thrilled about this.
Right. And let me set you up a little bit more, Charlotte. Jay met your predecessor, Dan Watanabe.
Okay.
And Doris Driver. We met with them almost, 3 or 4 years ago when Jay was at USC to talk about plugging in the community colleges to the Silicon Beach event. And so that's how long we've been working. And also the LAUSD, we were really looking at dual credit programs with the high school students from 11th and 12th grade being part of the pipeline. That's what we call the Digital Pathway Initiatives, to create a smart pipeline from LAUSD to the community colleges. And that's what Dan and Doris were going to help us construct this smart pipe, so that we had a real model to try and scale beyond LAUSD from the other school districts in the county and the other community colleges who were not part of, I think it was called LA High Tech. But we've been working that long to try and find all the disparate and similar pieces to align towards a pilot. That's how, I guess it was about 5, 6 years ago, Jay, that we started working to get them involved. So where we've been in the last 5 to 6 years, we met Ted Lai from Apple, and we met Kevin Hart, and all of these people that we've met along the way, we've held placeholders for them to become part of something that could become sustainable. But if we boiled it down to just a experience that we could perfect and then potentially scale to a few more participants and more students, I think this is what we can accomplish. And so this is not something we've kind of dreamed up. This is like 6 years of really focused ways to articulate and align all the people who Jay calls the coalition of the willing.
Wow. Well, I'm glad I'm at the tail end, because I could not wait 6 years. This year, I have to tell you, the Chancellor's Office, the initiative is to get these students in and out and get them sustainable living wages, right? So however we can obtain that is something I'm all about, but also it has to be sustainable. And I believe we are so close to having a sustainable process that we can see some great outcomes.
Yeah. Well, I know we're getting short on time. Anybody have any last minute suggestions, questions, or comments? And before you guys answer that, 2 other people who have not yet met. Jamie, this is Jay Tucker. Jay Tucker, this is Jamie.
Hey.
And
Jamie, nice to meet you.
yes, and Jamie has been kind enough with her time and energy to suggest that she could help us put this into a longer term sustainable model that can scale beyond the pilot. So what I'm really looking for this to be is something more than just a good idea. And again, most of everything is going to become, again, just a scrimmage or, kind of an exercise to get into a real world, real delivery of things that will make everybody proud. But it does require a little bit of experimentation as to how the students are going to participate in this, because we could all do this. We can all produce a nice series and it's going to be packaged and a lot of people are going to be able to see it, but that's not the case. We just need 30 people to really get it. So that's what I'm really prepared for, Charlotte. So again, if there's any questions, suggestions, or comments, we're ready to start putting it out there as something that could become publishable. We have students that if we don't get 30 people even interested, if it gets out to Gladio or whatever, I've got more than 30 students who are community college. But I just want to make sure I'm ready to participate in the way you envision working for you.
I think we need to talk to LA EDC and get on a call and see if we can utilize their portal.
Okay.
I don't want to be seen as that we're picking and choosing who's coming into this. Remember, if we open it up and we evangelize at these 2 next advisories and a couple other events over the next several weeks, I'm sure we will fill up. We don't want to be seen as those that are I don't want to say just selectively picking, because it's open to everyone within the community college system. It's virtual, right? And I want to make sure that we're seen as that. So there's never any I just don't want anybody to misconstrue our intent, right? That's the most important thing. Right. So I will set up a meeting with the director of LA EDC. Well, actually, it's a CCW is who he really works for. And let's see how we can utilize their portal. If not, I'll build a portal really quick using Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
And we'll be set to go. Some things we need to figure out. When's our launch date, right? When do we want to take off on this? When do we want to open it up to students? We should probably have some documentation on the portal of what's involved in this. So we need some type of write-up of what they get within those 8 weeks, and then the 9th week, which was when they meet all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are things we need to do. So we still have some work to do. We still need to finalize the digital badges for each module, which you saw how easy it was to do. And then also build that deck so we can lay it out to faculty. The first one would be November 13th, I believe, is the first advisory.
Okay. And so this is for Jay. Jay, did you hear the conversation about the digital badging and where each speaker could select the badge that most reflects their topic or their expertise?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's really the outcome that I believe will help us understand how to get better at making sure that these badges are something that will get buy-in from the people that they influence as potential hirers or people who will take them on as apprentices or even interns. So that would really be the outcome for me.
So I would say, because I love all the energy and this is the thing, there's no shortage of energy. Everybody's committed to, to fixing this situation that we find ourselves in. I would say that because Kevin, you said, you used the word sustainable. And I know Jamie's thinking about this as well. Sustainable means, again, on the backside, that corporations buy in. It's not so much this issue of like a badge that we confer, it's whether or not that badge has currency with the folks that are hiring. Second,
they do.
Right. Second, it's a question of funding, because this is not work that people should be doing, out of the goodness of their hearts. For it to be sustainable and scalable, we need to make sure we have budget to pay people for their time, expertise, curriculum, yada, yada, yada. There are some other organizations that can help us with potentially doing high-end recorded stuff when we get to that point. There are right, and that's the problem. And by the way, not only because I work at UCLA, I can only imagine what's going on with the community colleges. Not only do our educational organizations not have money, we're in an environment now where a lot of the corporations who would normally have lots of money don't. And I say that because a lot of the corporations who do the most philanthropy sell consumer products. And often you'd mentioned Fabi before, Pepsi. She moved from Beats to Pepsi, right? So imagine Pepsi, right? The normal business. they make a certain amount of money selling cases of Pepsi at Costco. But on a per can basis, they make a hell of a lot more money selling a can of Pepsi at the gas station or on the university campus. Well, guess what? With the economy, the economic slowdown because of COVID, a lot of the consumption is happening in the home, the cans that are getting bought in Costco. And so if you roll up to Pepsi and say, yeah, we're doing this great thing, you know, we'd love it if you could slip us, you know, $500, $500,000, whatever the number is, that's in the context of them looking at their profit margins evaporating, even if consumption is about at the same level, right? Like you assume people who drink Pepsi are still drinking it. But if they're buying it from Costco, Pepsi's not making the same money, right? Anyway, that kind of thing is happening all over the place. So thinking about, one, what is our story? Two, what is our value add? Not just our mission, but the thing that we're uniquely doing for folks who mess with us that you're not going to find anyplace else. And then three, talking about that partnership or collaboration opportunity in such a way that the people who do have the capacity to support us will, and that we can set an example, right? We can use those early adopters as an example of why it is that the kind of, hopefully that the fast followers will come and support it as well. Because the reality is that if the plan is to kind of bootstrap this with people kind of working pro bono for the next 2 years, you're not going to get a quality of experience that's going to get anybody's attention, right? You're going to have to pretty quickly get to a point where you can get access to some people's time that will actually change the way we talk about what we're doing, and that's going to take some funding, right? So anyway, you know, I like the badging. I think it's important. I would just say that, like, in the universe of things, when you start talking about sustaining and scaling, it's about having a distinctive program that industry sees value in and where they will mess with our students. That's where the capstone project comes in, because I think that's where you can clearly demonstrate like they're doing a thing that's related to your job, right? So you can see what their value is. And then the other piece is we got to keep refining the story, because it's going to be very, very difficult to find pockets of funding in the current environment. It's not impossible, but assume that any money you've gotten up until this point, that was the easy money. And you see how hard it was to get that money, right? So we got to be thinking about, okay, so we're moving into the phase where we're going to be looking for the hard money. And that's, you know, requires being really on point with respect to messaging, timing, how you manage meetings like this, all of it, so that people are begging basically to collaborate with us.
Right. So it's no longer like we pay for companies to support us with internships. That those days are gone in the community college world. They might even be gone in the public college, you know, in the higher ed. What we are looking for is somebody to commit to possibly 2 rounds. So 16 weeks. In that 16 weeks, they can decide whether to continue on or go elsewhere. We can build a pipeline of other companies and or people within the same company that want to take over and do the second 16. So 2 rounds. That's not asking a huge commitment, and I'm sure we can get that without having to pay any fees, because that we have none.
Okay. Well,
And that'll get us there, and we can write grants in between.
right.
Nice.
So,
I like Charlotte.
Yeah. Well, yeah. She's back. Bottom line. The thing that we.
Charlotte, I don't care what Kevin was just saying about you before I jumped on this call. I like you.
Well, thank you, sir. I like you too. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is. And there's, you know, if we have to have funding to kick it off, we don't. If
That's the
anything, they're
problem.
pulling funds away from us. So
Right.
I know there are a lot of good people that want to support us, and I have a lot of talented people that write grants. So, you know, we can get those. Let's do the pilot. Let's get it going so we can talk about it, and then we can seek some funding. And I know a lot of people who that work for different companies that have to give money. So we will contact them.
Right. And Charlie, look, this is the question for the next round, or for the greater good of everything that we're doing to scale. What is the audience size for the LA Orange County community colleges? If we added Suzanne and Suzanne, what is the total audience size?
Okay, so with me, I do have LA and Orange County. I have a total of 28 community colleges. I don't know what Suzanne has. I don't even want to bring them into the realm until we see sustainability and a valid pipeline within our community college. Let's do this for 2 rounds, and then we can open it up to San Diego, to the Inland Empire, to the Bay Area. We can take it statewide, but let's get this sustainable with us first. Because what I don't want to do is put our names, we're doing this, and then it fails, or they don't have sustainability out there, because then it comes back to our brand. And we all work too hard to build our brand to have it be lost, right?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not control, that's just concern.
Right, right. Okay, well, I think we have some marching orders to get the deck a little further down the line. And Charlotte, again, I liked your participation. Is a Google Doc all right, or would you like it in any other format?
Well, I don't Google.
You're a Microsoft
I
person.
So Microsoft Teams?
Yeah.
Microsoft. Okay, I'll put it into the I think it's OneDrive, or what is it called?
OneDrive, very good. I'm proud of you. Yeah, I mean, it's just a safer platform, and I'm all about security for us and everybody else that's involved.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be awesome. Let's try and do this prior to next week's meeting, so we can have validation from those that attend.
Great.
I know it's asking a lot of us, but I'm in. So I want to see this kick off.
Okay. I'm going to turn this into OneDrive. I'm going to turn this into the OneDrive now with the recommendations that Dave made, as well as a recording of this call. So let's see what we can do to try and put this thing into OneDrive and the Overdrive.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
All right now.
Take care. Nice to meet you, Jay.
Nice to meet you too. And Jamie, good to see you.
Good to see you.